So I think that, at your position, you're not necessarily a point guard, but you could really pass the ball. And I want to look at a little bit of how you operate out of the pick and roll. I think that you do a really good job of hitting your roll man always. I think your ball placement stands out. So when you're operating out of ball screens, what are kind of the things that you're reading from the defense?
First off, I'm just seeing where my man is at, if he's on top of me or is he's trailing me. So that's really the first thing I look at to see if I can get downhill. And then the next is seeing where the big is at. So if he's going to play up on me, my roll man is most likely going to be open. And if he's sagging off, that's when I know I have room to operate either for a pull-up or try to get to my floater.
Yeah, and right here, the tag man is a little late. He's a little small, so you can kind of throw it up in the air, and that's a pretty easy finish there. And it just seems like, especially with Nunji, like you just have such good chemistry with him out of ball screens. How has that developed over the years?
I feel like just getting a ton of reps in with him in practice, going all the way back to last year. And it helps that he can definitely shoot the ball, so he can switch it up. He can either pop or he can roll. So I think just being on the same page is something that we've been big on, and I feel like it definitely pays its dividends during the games.
No, I think it's interesting just because, like, as you mentioned, right, this pick and roll stuff is awesome. But something that I highlighted in my piece about you is that your entry passes, right, into the post are excellent as well. And just it goes back to exactly what Corey just said, right? The timing, the angles that you take, the touch on your passes, all that stuff is fantastic. Have you always been like a natural passer, or is this something that you've really been working on?
I wouldn't say like growing up I was a great passer. I feel like just in high school I moved onto the ball more, just having the ball in my hands more. So I feel like definitely that's something I've worked on, especially over the past few years up in here in college. So yeah, definitely trying to add that more and more to my game.
Yeah, and again, going back, the ball placement. I think a lot of guys who come off ball screens and try to make passes, they don't hit their roller or their shooters at an angle in which it's making their life easier. And one of the things I noticed about your passes is you're always giving them options in a way that makes their life easier. You're also pretty tall for a guy who can run a pick and roll. Like, how much does like your height help you kind of when maybe you got two coming at you on the ball?
Oh yeah, it definitely helps being able to see over defenders or just be able to see around defenders, because you really don't want to be throwing a blind pass. That's when turnovers happen. So just to be able to see a little bit more of the floor, it definitely helps out a lot.
Absolutely. And I think going back to these pick and rolls, something that you've been doing this year, I think, with confidence is it seems like now you're shooting the thing pretty confidently, right? And when you're looking at scouts, like, and they say go under, they can't really do that anymore because you're willing to make them pay. How much has your confidence grown as a shooter this year?
Definitely a lot. I mean, just with Coach Miller just telling me he wants me to shoot every open shot that I have, and then just getting a ton of reps in during this summer. I feel like it's just it's definitely coming along a lot better, and I definitely have a lot of confidence shooting it.
Colby, I wanted to ask, with Coach Miller coming in, and you have a lot of the ball, and you had a lot more of the ball in your hands, and you're taking more shots, doing a lot of the playmaking. What was that relationship like, building that with Coach Miller? Because you come in with a different coach, and things can change, but that dynamic overall of building that trust with him, what was that process like for you and for Coach?
Yeah, I mean, just when he got the job, he came in, we sat down, we talked, and he was just telling me that he wanted me to be the leader of the team and then have the ball in my hand, and then tough moments, tough situations. So that started off the trust for me right then. And then we started practicing, and everything he said, it was true. Like, I felt like I had the ball a lot more in my hands during practice, and then that just gave me more confidence. So I mean, yeah, it started off early on, right when he got the job.
Is there anybody who's playing in the NBA now that you kind of look at, you model your game after, or you watch and you say, oh, I like that, like I'm going to try to add that to my game?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of Malcolm Brogdon since I was probably a senior in college. I watched him a lot, and that's who I I've heard a lot of comparisons between me and him, and watching his film, I feel like we do have a lot of in common. So that's definitely one guy I've had in my mind for sure.
That's a great name and a great guy to emulate. This one of the most important pieces on a championship team. And I think ultimately, when you talk about a guy like Malcolm Brogdon and you like to pick stuff from his game, that list that we saw earlier, even, his teammate Derek White, guys like that, Lonzo Ball, these guys who are like these connective pieces. Albert mentioned Josh Hart. These are the guys who help you win championships. And I think, that's one of the reasons you have an opportunity in the coming weeks to win one in March Madness. And I think that you're going to be a guy who does this, and teams are looking to, looking at the next level in a big way as well.